Oh, we're video.
Yes, we're video.
You
had
never
the bright
mentioned
shiny.
that.
Well, it was kind of a last minute thing. So I knew you would have got your hair done, Adrian, if I told you that, right?
Yes, I would. Definitely done a little color. But, we call ours the O Tiger team. We kind of adopted that from the community. We love that. This is our second year, kind of rolling through our procedure. We meet every 2 weeks. Our team is made up of administrators, I'm always there, but whoever else is also available. School counselors, we get our success teachers in there because they have many of these students that we're concerned about. Our WIA directors, WIA is a Workforce Investment Act grant that we have to help some of our students that are living in poverty, looking forward to what they're going to do after school to help them get jobs and see that they can also go to schools or learn a trade. So that they're really helpful. Our testing coordinator, our administrator, special ed, our social worker, school psychologist, and tennis clerk. That's on any ideal day. Life happens. So not every time is everybody there, but primarily we really make this a priority. We create the data dashboard and we update it each 9 weeks. Last year we kind of did it at the semester and then we did it the third 9 weeks, but this year we started right off with the first 9 weeks. And I'll explain kind of why I had mixed feelings about how that's worked, but primarily that's what we've done. So we're getting ready to update it with all the semester grade information, who's passed their SOLs, who's passed those work keys. So it's a working document. It's not something we do and it's there. It's constantly being updated. And as you know, every situation is different, so the kids are constantly changing too. We identify seniors and determine their obstacles and implement a plan. There is no one plan that works for everybody. It's got to be something different for every child. And then we're working to identify juniors this year. That's kind of how we're expanding our program. We got some safety net funds approved. We set up a graduation coach. So one of our retired teachers who's really good at building relationships with kids in hopes that he will get the kids ready for their senior year. So they're not taking we have a couple seniors taking 2 and 3 Englishes, trying to get them a plan maybe this summer to get a little bit more caught up, maybe even past this year, just some ideas to try to get them ahead and have some more support for our juniors. We have what we call our O Tiger War Room. I create the data dashboard, which I'll show you in just a minute, and it primarily consists of attendance issues, grade issues, SOL issues, all those obstacles that keep kids from graduating. And we rate kids on a scale of 1 to 5. All right, 1 being there's just really no hope for this child. We've got to let them go. They're going to go get a GED. They're going to go, we're putting some other intervention in place, but it's not necessarily going to be something here at birth. Because sometimes they're in an alternative facility at this point, or they, they're those W-8s who you can't find, that never showed up their senior year, but we definitely don't want them, want to get them something. So there's a couple of the 1s. 2s are kids that need an SOL plan, but maybe they need to pass that RLL or pass the writing, or still need 5 SOLs to graduate. 3 would be an attendance conference with administrator. That's if they have 10 or more absences already. We actually cut it back a little bit more to 5 initially for the first 9 weeks, but the semester we're looking to go to 10 or more. 4 would be a grade conference with the counselor. This is any kid that has an F in a course that they need to graduate. Now, if they have an F in culinary, but that's not a credit they need to graduate, we're not as concerned about that. So we really try to target those that need those courses to graduate. And then 5, that stands for who do you stand for mentor. And that's a teacher in our building who's willing to adopt a child and build a relationship. It may or may not be a child they taught or know, but they're going to help them be like their check-in, check-out person. They're going to be their cheerleader. They're going to be the person that makes sure they get that cap and gown for graduation. They may even take a picture of that child in their cap and gown and say, I believe you can do this. I know you've got these obstacles, but I'm going to help get you there. Because a lot of times their parents have given up on them at this point. They're frustrated. They don't have that support at home. Some of them are on their own. They're now living with a friend. So that mentor in the building we have found to be the real key to making it happen for some of these kids. So, next slide. Okay, this is what my data dashboard looks like. And I know it's a little difficult to see. Do we have that as a handout? It's on the back of,
It's on the back of this handout that's about data-driven problem solving reflection sheet. It's on the back of that. And of course it doesn't, the yellow highlights don't show up, so sorry.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
Oh, yes, it's don't show up.
This is our true data dashboard for this year at first 9 weeks. I just relabeled the kids A through HH. But, you know, the first thing we did was I figured out the percent of absences, and there's a business objects report that will run that for you. I sort of had mixed feelings about whether that was helpful or not, but for some kids, you know, they don't enroll to the third week of school. So to say they have 4 absences first 9 weeks is a little misleading when they miss 3 weeks of school. So it's the percentage of time that they've been here. So it's sometime, or the percentage of time that they've missed. It also just has the SOLs needed. I got my testing coordinator to help me with that. You know, she keeps a running list, you know, updates it all the time with the help of our guidance coordinator on what SOL seniors need. And then, so I sent this to her and she inputted the SOL data. So that was very helpful. It's important to know whether they're special ed or not, whether they're getting those services, you know, being in touch with the case managers. We found more of our ESOL kids are struggling. Then, of course, the WIA kids, I talked about that grant earlier. Special notes, you know, they all have a story, so we try to put as much information there as we can. And then failing first 9 weeks. And I just pull this data from Starbase and figure out which of those courses they need to graduate with the help of the counselors. So it's everybody putting information in. Last year, we did this on Google Docs. But what we found at that time, some of the counselors hadn't gotten updated computers and couldn't do the Google Chrome. It was just kind of a misfit. So this year we have sent the Excel spreadsheet back and forth. You know, I feel like we're back in the dark. We took a step backwards, but it's actually worked a little better, and formatting's a little bit easier. All right, so then we go into our war room, and I have 3 columns. Because one child may need SOLs, they may need a credit conference, and they may need a mentor. So some kids get more than one number, all right? But let's look at student A, for example. We look across and we say, you know, the guidance counselors are in there. What I do, because this is kind of a long process when we do this war room thing, we have the counselor who has students A through E come in first. We go through all her kids with that administrator there too, so everybody has input. Once we get through those kids, then I release them and get the next 2 in. So, because this is about a 2-hour, 2.5-hour process as you're talking about each of these children. Because, you know, these counselors have had these kids for years. The administrators know them, you know, many of them very well. So sometimes the conversations can get pretty in-depth. And their whole story is important, you know, in figuring out what it is they need. So looking at student A, we decided that they needed a who do you stand for mentor and an SOL plan. And the SOL plan is different for each child too. You know, my testing coordinator helped me with that, as well as like my department chairs, because as you look at a kid who needs, you know, English 11, they may still be sitting in an English 11 course. So if they're getting some remediation through there, they don't need necessarily to be pulled out for remediation. But a kid who needs algebra, but is not sitting in an algebra class, I may talk to his AFDA teacher and maybe get him some algebra review. So, you know, there's a different plan for every child with the SOL. A student, like little student GG, he's failing Earth Science 2 and English, and he's already missed 32% of the school year. We put him as a 1 because he has already applied to go in the GED program and has got a full-time job and has quit coming to school. So, you know, I don't want to waste a mentor, that doesn't sound good, but, you know, use one of my mentors on him when he's not going to be here, you know. So some of the kids you do have to kind of let go, but try to get them an alternate plan. So after we kind of go through and analyze, you know, what each child needs, then I create a list. Okay, this is who needs an attendance conference. This is who needs an SOL plan. This is who needs a who do you stand for mentor. And each of us kind of has a role. Like I head up the who do you stand for mentors. I call every kid in who's going to have a mentor. You know, I talk to them, make sure they're going to buy in, you know, and when you show them their data and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't pass my SOLs, you know, counselors have told them this, you know, but somehow now it's more real. Oh my gosh, I really missed 9 days already, you know, like it just puts it all together. And then when we're saying, I'm concerned you're gonna drop out, those are real conversations. So we had every child this year accepted a mentor. I take a picture of the child, which they don't like to have their picture taken, but when you're trying to help them, you know, they get that. And then we had a faculty meeting and we rolled out the Who Do You Stand For program. And our teachers really bought in. You know, last year we had such success with it that many of them were like fighting to get another one, because there were fewer this year because we did it at first semester. We're going to do another rollout semester because some of our little darlings have dropped off. So we'll get a few more mentors. At the same time, I think some teachers were hesitant because this is almost a whole year you gotta look for that child. When we did it at semester, you know, you only had to make it a few months to help that child. So some teachers didn't like the longer commitment, but then that gave other teachers an opportunity. So it has not been the same teachers every year. And you'd be surprised which teachers, you know, jump in to help that child. You know, the teachers that you think, you know, don't have a soul, they really do. You know, they really do. They really care about kids, despite the fact that they, you know, are such a hard grader, something like that. But I put a scenario up here of kind of, this is just not one of our children, but it's not like the blue. But what are this student's obstacles to making it to graduation? What is the plan that would help him succeed? He's 18 years old. He's currently failing government semester, absent 20% of the days of school so far. He needs a writing SOL. He's homeless and living with a friend. So as we start talking about this kid, you know, the counselor, you know, added some information. So this is just made up, but it would be hypothetically it could be one of our kids. You know, I mean, we do have these stories. You know, he's a kid that I would be like, you know, he's missed 20% of the time. Why is he absent? Can he not get to school? You know, since he's living with a friend, does he not? You know, he's homeless? So let's get him. You know, has he filled out the McGinney-Bento paperwork? You know, if he's homeless, he's probably hungry. You know, I had a kid tell me one time, I can't learn when I'm hungry. You know, like that's an obstacle. So there'd be a lot of things you want to put in place for this young man. I think he would really benefit from a mentor. If he doesn't have a parent at home encouraging him, you know, a mentor would be great. You know, if he still needs that writing SOL, you know, looking at getting him, you know, in a work keys program, you know, the SOL Academy, just, you know, what are things are there for them? You know, we have so many, I had a counselor at our school one time tell us, you know, if you can't graduate in Chesterfield County, there's something wrong with you. You know, there is so much in place, and when you start putting it all together in the pyramid, it really is. So we just need to make those resources available. Is that my time?
Yep, that's it.